So what's the deal with the women's list? Is this a good segue for you?
I think this is a great segue. What's the deal with the women's list?
Is the full 250 out somewhere?
It is out somewhere. Yes. You can look for it on the internet. You can also find it.
Oh, right. I probably should not ask you for the full list without paying. That probably would be uncouth.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good for me. That would not be good for me. Because many perhaps just to make sure that everyone knows, I am once again this year. I am a part of the Women's 250 committee that came up with the list. Kristen Ashly has been on it. Was on it as well. We had I can't remember how many people we were, but we had a couple of the usual faces like Pat Laprade from up here in Canada who was on it, and we had Lyric of Lyric Wrestling who was joining us this year as a first timer.
So is Pat Laprade the reason that Samantha Zane made the list?
What do you mean made the list? She's very good. What are you talking about?
Just making a joke.
I know.
Respect to Pat Laprade.
We have nothing bad to say against Pat.
No, I literally have no beef with Pat Laprade, but he does love his Montreals. What is the metonym for that? Montrealians?
Montrealers.
Montrealers? Okay, I thought it would have been more en at the end, but
no. But you see, in French, c'est Montréalais. Montréalais.
I don't think you want me to try and. My Spanish is rednecky enough. I don't know that you want me trying French.
Well, I'm always.
Parlez-vous français?
That's not so bad, actually. But the thing with Montreal these days, and quite frankly, is that you honestly can live in Montreal and not speak a lick of French, and you will be okay. Like it's not even close to being like this bastion of French language preservation that it once was. It's very. You go into shops and people welcome you by saying bonjour, hello, kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay. And you will be, if you start talking to someone, whether at a hotel, at a convenience store, at a Lululemon. I don't know why that came to mind, but if you start talking Lululemon, you will. If you start talking to them in English, they'll answer back in English and won't make a scene out of it. Okay. It's crazy now.
How's the independence thing going? Because I know that's like a low-key thing that's been going on for, a while. Certain people wanting
ups and downs. Like, I think like overall, I think the Canadian scene is pretty rough. And
I meant the Quebec push for independence from Canada, not so much the independent wrestling scene.
Oh, you meant the actual independent, like the one that actually has an impact on everyone's minds.
Yeah, the political science aspect of it. Not so much 4C or.
No, I thought C4 Wrestling or IW.
C4, sorry.
No. Okay. No, that part of it, it hasn't been around for. At this point, at least a decade. I don't think it's much of an issue. We have an independent, we have a political party that is staunchly for the independence, the Parti Québécois, which is the party that has always stood for independence and that's been in power multiple times and that spearheaded 2 referendums as to whether or not the province should split from the party. But it's basically not a non-factor. It was the second biggest party in the province for the better part of 30 years. And for the past 10, 12 years, it's like the 4th party on the ballots now. I think people are just sick of it. I don't think it's an issue anymore because back in the day, people were pissed off at people who spoke English because landowners and company owners, bosses. They were all English speakers. Exactly. So, everyone was like, this is our our province, we speak French here, and we're not going to take it from the English anymore. We're done. And we're ready to move things into our direction. And so there was the independence movement, but then throughout there were other things happening, a credit union for the province that was owned by French Canadians. That was the first big thing. And there were more and more companies starting up by French Canadians, and they became successful. And we're at a point now where French Canadians are kind of, they have all the tools they need to manifest their own destiny. It's not even, we're our own bosses now, and we screw ourselves over despite the fact that, we all speak the same language. So there's nothing to get mad about anymore. There's no reason to separate. Cultural reasons, perhaps, but cultural reasons don't hit you in the pocket as much as it was back in the day. So it's an entirely different landscape.
Look at that. Entertaining and educating.
There you go. Isn't that what we strive to do?
Sure.
Isn't that what we strive to do?
Now more about pro wrestling.
And now back to the 250 list.
So I see Timeless Tony is number 1.
Correct.
So let's go over the criteria for your list, because I'm a voter for the FSM 50 on the Voices of Wrestling, and our criteria is very much like in-ring performance based, and you're not supposed to give any real credit towards like kayfabe accomplishments or business accomplishments.
Sure. Here it's a little bit. It's not the same criteria, that's for sure. Let me just. Kevin always has this handy here. Okay, so the criteria is this. So first and foremost, they need to have 10 singles matches throughout the period, right? Or 6 singles matches within 6 months. That's the criteria to be first and foremost. That's why someone like Mercedes Moné is not on the list.
Understood.
Because she barely hit it, but she didn't have everything that was needed. The second criteria is in-ring achievements. So win-loss records, championships, tournaments won, kayfabe accomplishments, essentially.
Now, PWI weights the championship some. Like, they're not going to say that the Queen of Stardom title has the same heft as the WWE Women's Championship.
No, exactly. Because then there's influence that kicks in. That's the other criteria.
Okay,
cool. Visibility and prestige within the promotion and or the industry. So, you can be doing things that sort of transcend maybe your little neck of the woods, or maybe just transcend whatever you're doing in pro wrestling. That was one of the big criteria. That was one of the things that really weighed heavily for Bianca Belair on her big year. What was it, 2 years ago?
I think 2 now, yeah.
When she had her really big year, she just transcended. She was very important for Black fans, for the Black community. Mm-hmm. So, on that front, she was weighed heavily as well. Technical ability then follows. So quality of moves, matches, so on and so on. The work rate, for lack of a better term. And then the final criteria is competition. So basically success against quality opponents. You may have like 60 wins on your record, but if they're all against, I don't know, a jabron, because I'm saying a jabron because I don't want to bury anyone here. I'll
say Hyper Misao.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I love Hyper Misao, but she is not exactly the most successful in ring typically. We're not exactly talking Stalker Ichikawa here, but I couldn't think of a better, comparison. So
who's gonna come back in the news with this Tanahashi retirement? But
oh, buddy, I'm so hyped for that. I watched that show they announced that on today, by the way.
That's tremendous. So she's so basically that's it. So she could be she could have 60 wins, but if it's all against shit opponents, it won't be as weighty as someone who maybe has 10 matches but has fought just the top of the line, the greats, just excellent competitors, well-known stars, so on and so forth, right?
Indeed.
So there you go. So that's the criteria. So so if we go from there, well, let's run through the top 10 just in case anyone's tuning in and is not quite sure. So we have Toni Storm at number 1. Number 2 is Jordan Grace. Number 3 is Rhea Ripley. Number 4 is Micah. Number 5, Stephanie Vaquer. Sari is at 6. Bailey at 7. Willow Nightingale at 8. Mariah May at 9. And Athena wraps it up at 10. So that is the top 10. What's really notable in this top 5 this year, I don't know, maybe even Kristen has mentioned it in the interview because Kristen did correct me. Says not necessarily shit opponents, but if they're fighting the same people over and over again, that also can have.
Oh, okay.
So
gotcha. Okay.
Apologies. Sometimes I go too far. So
you're a loose cannon, and I should take you off the case.
But so they keep me on, so I must be doing something right. So we have the top 5. The top 5 this year is all women from different promotions, and
yeah, it's a good spread.
That doesn't happen very often, especially in the it's happened more often than not, even with AEW around, that most of the top 5 and even the top 10 was filled with WWE wrestlers, which was true for the men as well. And of course, there were reasons for that because it was, pretty much the only game in town. But in regards to the past couple of years, this is cool because look, you got an AEW woman, you've got Impact, you've got WWE, Stardom, CMLL, well, formerly CMLL, but bear with me for the period.
For the period that we're talking about,
for the
CMLL.
period we're in there, it's CMLL. So that's a great spread, actually, and that's something. Yeah. That's something.
I think you guys did a good job spreading the recognition out for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then you can move down a little more. You've got Sari, who's a freelancer, right? And that's remarkable in and about itself. Breaking in the top 10 for someone who's not affiliated really with a promotion. She's working with Marigold right now, but I think technically she's still freelance. That's amazing. You've got Bailey, who ends up being the second WWE woman in the top 10, which is remarkable. Willow Nightingale being the second AEW woman, Mariah May and Athena for Ring of Honor. Like it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's a good list.
For the top 10, it's pretty good.
Now, I would not do a list with the same criteria, so I'm going to proceed that anything else with that. I think that I'd probably go far more work rate / subjective performance, but I do think it's interesting to and probably good to have a list like this. Because I think it's an interesting way to try to encapsulate let's say kayfabe accomplishments, I guess, and to some extent their actual accomplishments. That's always a weird way to try to describe things. I think that's a pretty good list in terms of who's been pushed the most. I think without digging in.
It's a snapshot of essentially it's a snapshot of who's been moving and shaking, relevant.
Yeah.
During the past year, who's been able to maintain it, right? Because there's people who can pop up for a couple of months, but who don't maintain that quality about them for the rest of the year.
Exactly. Yeah. Kristen has a point in the chat. Oh, by the way, your chat stopped updating on the screen. I don't know if you noticed that, but I noticed that.
That's weird.
But Kristen said in the chat, like all accomplishments are kayfabe. If we made a list of how we feel they fight, it's the same list.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can buy that.
Yeah. Oh, work brother or sister. But yeah, I think it's an interesting list. What are your big thoughts taking away from it?
Um, in general, my big thought is pretty much what I've expressed about the diversity of the top five. I think it's something that really hasn't happened often in the history of PWI, and especially in regards to the women's list. And I think what it shows is that more and more, and I kind of want to add in Sari into this, despite the fact that she just eked out of the top five. More and more women from different parts of the world are able to make an impact on just the overall consciousness of pro wrestling fans. Look, I mean, it's on another scale, of course, but we saw how significant Julia's free agency was, right?
Yes.
AEW tried their best. WWE picked them up. Vicaire basically just burnt a bridge to go to WWE. So, these things happen because they were able to play on bigger stages, get out of, and that's cool. It's cool that there's that level of appreciation and perception that of women's wrestling, that when you get the right components, you get the right people, it's not just an attraction. It's not just, something for the guys. You know what I mean? It's actually perceived as it's actually perceived as relevant, as something that can contribute to the sport, that gets people excited. That's always cool to see.
Yeah, it's a needle mover.
It more and more. I'm not ready to say that it's start up a women's division to save your promotion, but since I've been doing this, and since I've been, especially a few years ago when I was really covering women's wrestling a lot more, I think it's already changed quite a bit. There's some spots that I think got weaker, but we're seeing more stars. So we're focusing on women like Julia, like Vicaire, like Sari, like Toni Storm, like Rhea Ripley, who are standouts in their environments and can become stars and can become centers of attention for the promotion. And I think that's exciting. And the fact that we have such a diversity, and when I mean diversity across promotions, I think that's really exciting on top of that, especially for a promotion like CMLL, right? Like,
yes.
And no disrespect to the work that's done by the luchadores and CMLL, but most of the time they're relegated to trios matches and tag teams, and that's pretty much it. And let's move on to the and now it's time for Hechicero. Now it's time for Volador Jr. It's like, but if Vicaire, for good or ill, if she was able to position herself as she did, and played a really strong hand to get to WWE, good for her if she was able to pick that up, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Kristen says it's super cool that the promotions are recognizing it. That's a good point. Stardom just posted stuff about all their women. AEW retweeted PWI. WWE has let their stars mention it. It's cool. It is
cool. Yeah. I think that that is one of the actual benefits. I think as a non WWE fan, I do think one of the benefits of the Paul Levesque era, such as it is, the shyest man on television, it just doesn't want to be on TV. For example, look at all the times he's on TV. Just hates it. But I do think that they're kind of loosening with the ability to not outright, they do it through their own lens, but at least there's some acknowledgement of, the wider world of wrestling, whether it be little mentions of PWI. Now, do I think that that's a little overblown by partisans? Yeah, I do. But I mean, it is still cool that it happens. So,
to be in all fairness, in the past, when their women have been positioned at number one, they've been super cooperative. Like,
well, that's good.
Kevin McElvaney, the editor in chief, would like send them T-shirts, you know, or a plaque, or could you take some pictures with the T-shirts or the plaque or both? And next thing you know, they're sending back the photographs, you know, whether it's Bianca, whether it's Bailey and Sasha Banks, you know,
That's good. That's
so
good.
no, like I think they see the value in this nonetheless, you know.
Good.
Yeah.
Um,
And this is pre-Paul, by the way, so
okay, understood.
Just underscoring that.
The Old Testament. Boy,
Yeah,
I'm just hitting them all to all fields tonight.
But it's a good list. We're very happy about it. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, that's a good top 10. Yeah. I personally might have pushed for Tokyo Joshi Pro to have maybe Miyu Watanabe or Miyu Yamashita. I'm sure they finished quite high, but
I don't know, Kristen, if you have the full list under your not far, maybe you could pull up the numbers for us and put them in the chat for those two. I mean, I'm a big Yamashita fan. I think she's tremendous. You know, so.
Can Kristen join the show?
I mean, she's in the chat. You mean to jump in on the call?
Yeah, with the voice, the vocal cords, and so
if she
forth.
Wants, of course.
Yeah.
But TJPW has been TJPW is like they did get very high. I think it's just a question. See, the criteria.
They are kind of second tier in terms of prestige, I think, for Joshi, and I get it. So
that's.
I've been watching a bunch of Tokyo Joshi Pro recently, so I'm really impressed with their big three of Watanabe, Yamashita, and Shoko Nakajima. I think they're all tremendous performers.
I like Shoko a lot.
Yeah, she's great. Miyu, I think I started watching Tokyo Joshi Pro in 2022, and she has improved a lot in the past few years, and it's been very impressive.
She says she could jump in for 5 minutes, then she needs to go get dinner.
Hey, sure, yeah.
I think if all you have to do, Kristen, is give me a Discord call in it, or do I? Or oh no,
we may need to make it a.
I could add. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, do that.
There we go. Oh, it cut the.
Ring. Banana phone.
That's an oldie but a goodie. My kids love that one so much. That meme. That was a classic.
Is Kristen? Oh, here we go. Kristen is working on it. Looks like.
Yeah, she had. I think she's getting the call. There.
Okay, that's. Oh no! Her little icon went away. I'll speak to Sari while we,
sure.
maybe add a. I have started watching Sari. Hey, okay.
Kristen. Hi. A little impromptu run in.
What are your thoughts on the list?
Well, I'm employed by PWI. I love the list. No, I put a lot of time.
People should consume.
If you want to peek behind the curtain for real,
yeah, sure.
We only got, I think, halfway through the list in the first call because, as I tell people, the top 10 is not taken lightly. The top 20 isn't taken lightly, and so it always takes up the majority of the call, and then people get tired. So by the time half the list is done, it's like go time. Everybody wants to go. So me and Kevin hash out most of the rest of the list, and then we send it to everybody. Like, is there disagreements? Because we had a really tight deadline by the time this was all done, print deadline. So, I work on it a little bit more than some of the other people, just a little bit, but I like it. I mean, there's always going to be places that I don't agree with or whatnot, but it is vote by committee. We don't always all agree.
Mm-hmm.
We like to try. The top spots are, we don't like leave the number one spot until we all can consent to it. Like, that's not something that and I would say the top 3 or 5 even, we don't just walk away not agreeing, but it's hard to agree on every 250.
Oh, definitely. People. Yeah, that's a lot of names to rank.
we would be there for 3 days arguing. So, and also I'll say when you get to like the very top of the list and the very bottom of the list, you're like really measuring by one or two things, and it gets hard. It's hard to like, okay, who do we place here and who do we place here by like one spot? And you're like, okay, there's one difference. So it just would be long process of everybody having to jump in at all 250 spots. But everybody else does get to look at it. And there have been times where Pat or whomever is like, why is this person here? And that's happened with me, where I look at the list and I'm like, excuse me, why is this person so low?
Right.
And that happened with Miyo Yamashita. Was I look at her and I go, why is she so low? And sometimes it happens when you're writing the bios and you see all the stuff they've accomplished. I think I wrote like the first 100 bios or something. You see all the stuff they accomplish and you're like, okay, why are they all the way down here? And then we switch it up. So that's the other thing. This is not set in stone the second we finish it. This is something that we are literally working on until the day before it goes to print. I mean, I walked. Like, go ahead.
Like the perfect example is Mercedes Monet. Like we were on Mercedes Monet watch to make sure that, because she was one match away from being able to be eligible. So that would have changed a bunch of stuff on the list.
Oh yeah.
So that's just it. Like we were hanging on to it to the very end just to make sure that, just in case she snuck in, but she really didn't make it.
What's your criteria timeline again? Could you remind me of that?
October 1st to September 30th.
That sounds
so okay. We quite literally, like, we had her entry. I'm not gonna tell you the spot we had her, but we had a spot already for her. So when she didn't, and we really waited till last minute. We had to move everybody around. And honestly, okay, here's another peek behind the curtain for the MrWarrenHayes viewers, listeners. Flammer, the Reinas de Reinas champion, was not going to make it on the list because of activity, and at the last minute, she made it. And I had to go, hey, Kevin, I know you're like already done with this page layout, but hey, can we add her? And that's one of those situations where you cannot add. You can't not add Flammer. Like, you have to add her. So it seems
even with all the criticisms I have of AAA, I do think you have to acknowledge their champion.
Right, that is the world champion according to the PWI. So if we don't have a world champion according to them on there, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, so in other words,
the thing is that you can criticize the promotion and how they're booked and whatnot. Absolutely, but it's a world champion. It's a world champion. Didn't mean to interrupt, Kristen. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, to answer your question, yes, I'm proud of it. It's not something, I think people just put a list. They think we just put a list together in like 10 minutes and walk away, and it's not the case. I mean, I spent, not even lying, over 12 hours researching every single woman who qualified from every single promotion, and that was a lot of work. And we still didn't go by what I had. Like, I ranked them all according to work rate, according to wins and title, and that still didn't end up what we had. Like, we had to switch it around a little bit, but this is not something we take lightly. So I always say I'm super proud. Like, Warren had already talked about the top 5. That's huge, in my opinion, that we had women from each big place, and it really just, we have to remind people this is a snapshot in time. It's not like, oh, Tony is always going to be the best wrestler, because that's not always going to be the case. But this is a kayfabe list, and it's what this year looked like. And, we've had some people, surprisingly, not a lot of complaints about Mercedes, because they understand.
Yeah.
And so fans were very cool about it. I was not expecting that. But there has been a lot of heat about other individuals, like Ariana Grace, for instance. And it's like, I don't know what else to say about that other than what's written in the magazine. So at some point, I just go, hey, go buy the magazine.
Yeah.
and you'll
Oh yeah,
see
but they
it.
don't want to do that. They just want to be
No, no,
angry.
no,
So
no,
Yeah, they just want to be
no,
mad.
and yeah. And if they don't get it then, because there was one individual that I literally sent a snapshot of the bios from Ariana and Lola, and I sent it to him, and I said, "There you are. Here, you can see the differences." And he still said, "Well, I don't get it." Okay, then you're not gonna get it. I don't, that is not to be, smug about it, but that's what it is. Like, I don't know what else to say, and not everyone's gonna agree. I don't agree with every single spot on
oh
this
yeah,
list
no,
either.
that's the thing with any kind of voting like this. Like I'll point back to the FSM because I've been part of that. I did not agree with every placement of people on that list because I had my own list based off of what I
Well,
watched,
sure.
and
Well, it's the same
if,
thing,
and
and I know you vote. You vote in the 30 under 30 that we do at
mhm,
Vow as
yeah,
well. It's the same thing. You just don't agree. You see some placements and you're like, no, this isn't quite it. But you
yeah,
sort of roll with it. You can't make everything
Warren
yeah.
right
knows
either.
one. I
What's
won't
that?
say who it is, but Warren knows one
Oh
that
yes,
I'm.
goddamn, I know. Yep, yes.
But I also know some that he doesn't like either, and like you said, it's a vote by committee. 7 people. We're not all gonna agree. Like I said, we walk out of the top 5, top 10 all agreeing. Some years the first position is like that one year it was between Shuri and Bianca.
Mhm.
We sat for an hour
That was
and discussed
ridiculous.
just that. Huh?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it was.
It was
Oh my
legitimately
god,
tense. It was legitimately
it
tense.
was very intense. But by the end of it, we all said, "Okay, Shuri makes sense." We don't leave without all agreeing, or at least somebody conceding.
Well,
But
Yeah.
I mean,
this,
everyone agreed at the end of the meeting, but then
yeah.
it continued in emails later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
let's not
but
forget
it
that.
ended where it ended. And sometimes you're just not gonna figure out, like, you're just not gonna all agree, but we do with the Tony Storm, we all walked in with Tony Storm. And we said, Tony Storm. And they said, yes, Tony Storm. And that was that. Like, you're kind of encouraged to bring your top 10, top 20, and you go from that. And I'll tell you, my top 20 looked completely different. So it just depends, on the year. But I'm proud of this list. Maybe it's because I put 3 times more work into it than I normally do. But I
Did you?
like it.
Did,
And what I like is that there are a lot of women, 61 women who never ranked on any PWI list who ranked on this
It's always
on
cool
this
when you
list.
get to bring them in, bring new people in.
Yeah. And there's a lot of them that are, most of them are indies, and so it's nice then that they're out there. That's what I like seeing. I mean, I like when fans agree, but it's not for them. It's for the wrestlers who bust their ass and put their body on the line, and they're going, okay, like, now people can see my match. Because that's the thing too, is a lot of people will say, well, I don't know who this person is, so I'm gonna go search for their matches, and that's the point. It's
Yeah,
not.
that's
I
kind of
like
what you
doing
hope.
that with both the PWI lists when I have a chance, which isn't that much. But yeah, it's always cool to get exposure to new names. I
That's the
oh,
objective.
go ahead.
That's the objective of
Yeah.
any list. Go. Sorry, Fred.
Oh no, I was going to ask Kristen. In the most this is my best attempt at being politically sensitive to asking a question about a list you worked on with other people. Um,
Yeah.
who specifically that did not make the top 10 would you like to put over on your
Oh,
in your own
wow.
opinion?
Wow, you're gonna do that, huh?
Yeah.
Um, Hold on, let me bring up the list. I mean, I'm not gonna remember it. Um, Oh God. I don't like doing this because it's like I don't want anyone to hear it and go, "Oh, she doesn't like this person." But let me bring up the
No,
list.
it's not a knock on anyone in the top 10. It's just, who would you, if you were made God Emperor, the PWI Women's 250, would you like have special declarations for? How's that?
Well, I think Mina Shirakawa is up where she should be, but I've always been a huge fan of her, and I think having her higher would have been cool. Do I think she should have been in the top 10, maybe not. I mean, I honestly really like this top 10. People have a lot of things to say about Mariah May. I like Mariah May in there. That was also one of those picks that we didn't have to spend too much time thinking about. I would have really liked to see Mayu Iwatani higher. In my opinion, I actually thought Roxanne would be in the top 10. And I'm not just saying that so people get off my tail. I actually thought Roxanne would be in the top 10. But at the same time, I really like this top 10. I really do. And in the top 10, I might have shifted some people around, but I really like this top 10. I wish Wendy Richter was in the top 10.
Yeah, DGMC was wondering
DGMC
about
is
that.
really sold on Wendy Richter. So I'll say that.
DGMC apparently like sat up bolt right in bed and was like, Wendy Richter, Wendy Richter, Wendy Richter.
Which is very weird when you put it that way.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But Mayu would have been good. Or Mina. Or, I mean, I think Miyu Yamashita is where she should be too. But, I mean, it probably would have been cool to have another Joshi woman there. There's only 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It would have been neat to have another one up there. But, I mean, if they don't have we talked about Julia leaving Stardom and then having sort of a sit out pretty much on Marigold.
Yeah, the inactivity really hurts her, I think.
Right. Inactivity puts a lot of them. Like the ones at the top anyways have been like, Shida even didn't have that much.
She disappeared for long periods and was not going right back to Tokyo Joshi Pro in between. No. Let's be clear.
She wasn't.
So she snuck up where she was because of the world title.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I would love somebody to be up in the top 10 that's Joshi, but then again, who would have been up there? And with Io Sky, she barely skirted by.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, she lost. Now the house shows we don't actually count when we count like wins and losses because they don't either. The promotions don't count them either.
Right.
So we don't count those in. Luckily for Io Sky, because Io Sky lost so many matches on the house shows with the title. She lost so many. It was insane. And then, then Asuka too. She barely crept in. And people were upset because Kairi didn't. Kairi had 2 singles matches in the Royal Rumble, something like that, and that was it as far as what would qualify her on here. So, like the top women for Joshi, it just was super hard. And the ones like Miyu Watanabe it's like, yeah, she was TJPW, but that's the problem. Was that she was TJPW. So Miyu and Maki are all over the place, and they're all over the place fighting men too. Akito is on the 500s list, and so yeah, it was a weird year for Joshi. I wish we could have put somebody else up there for that, but at the same time, Suri and Maiko was really pretty easy top 10.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, I gotta go get food, but
well, thanks for hopping
nice
on.
Talking. Sorry, I just talked the entire time, but thanks.
That was the idea.
That was the plan.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for hopping on, Kristen. Have a good meal. What are you having?
Thanks.
What are you having?
I'm having the pizza. The pizza. Yeah.
I know which one.
An emergency pizza that Domino's gives out. It's an emergency. So I'm gonna go eat that. Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.